Hello guys, what's up? This is Mortaza and welcome to the next episode of my TypeScript tutorial here at my YouTube channel, A Coder's Journey. And in this episode, I'm gonna start creating a TypeScript file. I'm gonna show you how to use some of the most common primitive data types in TypeScript, and then we will use the compiler to compile our TypeScript file into JavaScript. So as I told you, I have Visual Studio Code as my editor. I have opened this folder, exercise files, and as you may recall from the last video, we installed the compiler, and I told you that the compiler is installed in this node modules folder, and then we also created this tsconfig.json. As I told you, this is the configuration file for the compiler, for TypeScript compiler. We will probably talk about some of the options that exist here. And then I told you that I have also created an src folder with a simple TypeScript file, if you remember the example.typescript, which I have deleted here, and I am going to start from scratch. So I'm going to close this, and what I am going to do is to just right click here, and I'm going to say new file, and then I'm going to say, for example, example, right, that, or let me come up with a better name. I'm going to say primitive data types.ts, right? Now this is our TypeScript file. This is the extension ts, and we can start writing our code here. As I told you in the very beginning, TypeScript is the superset for JavaScript. In TypeScript, we have all we can do, in JavaScript, and we also have type checking, static type checking. Now, in TypeScript, there are three very common types that we can use. The first one is the Boolean data type, or bool. We have numbers, integer numbers, whole numbers, and floating numbers, and we have string. So in this video, I'm going to start working with, the string data type, and I'm going to give you some examples so that you guys are exposed, to the syntax of TypeScript. So in order to create a variable in TypeScript, of course, we can use the let keyword, and then I'm going to come up with a name for my, TypeScript, for my variable. I'm going to say my first name, right? My first name, and then I'm going to put in my name as Mortaza. And as you see, the moment I created the file and the moment I started typing, there is the corresponding JavaScript file declared here. And this is the JavaScript file that is, the transpiled version of this code from TypeScript to JavaScript. And the reason why I didn't have to run the compiler explicitly is that I have started the compiler in watch mode. I will tell you about it. Let me just close this for now. Just remember that using this watch mode of the compiler, whenever I make a change in this TypeScript file and I save this file, the result, the transpiled version of my code in TypeScript will be generated here in the JavaScript version of this file. Now, as I told you, in TypeScript we have this concept of specifying the types of our variables, and there are two different ways that we can do that. The first one is the explicit version. Explicit means you explicitly define the type for your variable. For example, here I can say, I have my last name as another variable, and then I use colon to specify the type of this variable. I'm going to say this is of type string, and then I'm going to assign a value to this variable. So this line declares this variable, my last name, of type string, and then assigns the value, my last name, to this variable. And of course, if I take a look at the JavaScript file, I can see that the compiler has automatically generated this JavaScript file for me. And this is the explicit method, explicit version of declaring a variable. The other version is, of course, implicit, like this one, in which you do not explicitly define the type of your variable, but you leave it to the compiler to infer the type of this variable based on the value that you assign to this variable. So here TypeScript looks at this value and it sees that this is a string, so it will infer the data type of this variable to be string. This is also called type inference, right? So you leave it to the compiler of TypeScript to infer the type of your variable. So this is of type string. You see the pop-up shows up, let my first name be of type string. So now if I come here and I write, I don't know, like my first name, and then I assign a number to this, of course TypeScript will complain because you are not allowed to put a number into a variable of type string. This is the static type checking I was talking about. And of course, if you come here in JavaScript, you are allowed to do this. You are allowed to put a variable, put a string into a variable and then put a number into it. So this is 100% fine in JavaScript, but in TypeScript this will produce an error, and the code will not compile. So this is the beauty and the power of TypeScript, because it gives us static type checking. So guys, as you see here, we have two different ways of declaring our variables. First, we have the explicit version, in which you explicitly define the type of the variable, or implicit, which means that you leave it to the compiler to define or to kind of infer the type of your variable. And I can come here and I can say, let my age be 32, and if I hover my mouse here, it says that my age is of type number. I told you there are three very common data types in TypeScript: number, string, and bool. Or I can be explicit and say that this is number. Specifying the type explicitly, I think, makes your code more readable and easier to understand, but of course it requires more keystrokes. You need to type more, but making everything implicit is also possible. It helps you to write less code, but be aware that sometimes you need to help TypeScript, because TypeScript cannot infer the type of your variable on its own. We're going to talk about those special cases as we go on. So I'm going to stop this video here. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. This video was about just starting a TypeScript file, just creating a TypeScript file and declaring a couple of variables, and we talked about declaring variables explicitly and implicitly. Thank you guys for joining me, for watching this video. If you've enjoyed watching it, please make sure you subscribe to A Coder's Journey. Also activate that notification bell so that you do not miss out on my upcoming videos. Share this video with a friend, give it a like. This is also very important for me. It keeps me motivated and it helps me to produce more videos, more content for you guys. See you in the next video. Stay around. Bye-bye.